Okay, class, so this is the last lesson for chapter 6. Just to give you a quick recap again, we are doing unit 3 about American civilizations, and in chapter 6, we learned about the Mesoamerican civilizations. And so far, we covered the following Mesoamerican civilizations. So, the Mesoamerican civilizations are the Almec, Zapotec, the Maya, and now for section 3 about the Aztec. And this is the last lesson for section 3, and we will learn about the defeat and the legacy of this civilization. So go ahead, log in to Loda.usd or have your textbooks ready and pay attention. So go to Loda.usd website, and from there, the Clever portal. And from Clever, log into Cengage Learning, which is the National Geographic Learning, and log in with your student account and password. From the left side, it's Unit 3, Chapter 6, Section 3, and this is Lesson 3, which is the last lesson, and it is in pages 170 to 171. Let's start with the chapter's essential question. So, how did Mesoamerican civilizations adopt and adapt the cultures of earlier civilizations? And the objective of this lesson is to describe the defeat of the Aztec and the rich cultural legacy they left behind. Spanish conquistadors or conquerors defeated the Aztecs, but archaeologists have been able to learn about the civilizations from the ruins, artifacts, and writings that survived the conquest. So, this lesson again is the goal of this lesson is to describe the legacy of the Aztec in building, astronomy, and the arts. Well, this lesson is divided into two parts. The first part is about the end of the empire, and the second part is about the Aztec legacy. So, like many great civilizations, I'm thinking of the Romans, the Aztec depended on military power. They conquered a lot of places and demanded people to give them taxes or tribute. Um, but constant wars and regular rebellions, well, just like what happened in Rome, like other great civilizations, though, constant wars and rebellions kept the empire unstable. And the unrest was made worse by the rule of Moctezuma II. And Moctezuma became emperor in 1502. He considered himself equal to gods, which is really nothing new. And he also kept pressuring defeated peoples for more and more tribute to pay for his luxurious, wasteful lifestyle. Again, that is nothing new. We just learned about King Louis of France and the Versailles, the Palace of Versailles, and it's the same problem. And this unrest, fortunately for him, in 1519, he was able to crush this rebellion. And after that, surprise came in. And Moctezuma is not ready for them. It is the year the conquistadors arrived from Europe. Now, we learn about who the conquistadors are. They are Spanish conquerors who were greedy for gold and other riches from the South and Central America. Although a few in number, they were able to overpower the Aztec with superior weapons such as guns, cannons, and, well, the most important weapon that they use is a living, breathing, fast running horse. Now, why is that important? Well, obviously, the horse gives a warrior, a swordsman, a spearsman, a leverage towards or against their enemies. And you have to understand the Spaniards, the conquistadors during this time, they are superior riders, even compared to other knights, other horse riders, other warriors in Europe during this time. I may be exaggerating a little bit with this one or with this comparison, but I think the conquistadors, most of the warriors are like the Navy SEALs of our time. So, no chance. The Aztec warriors with their spear throwers and swords were definitely no match with the conquistadors. The Spanish invaders also brought disease such as smallpox and eventually would kill millions of native people throughout the Americas, which is like a biological weapon that they brought in the region. To make the situation worse, well, at least to Moctezuma and his supporters, his followers, other Aztecs joined the conquistadors because they were hoping that the tyranny of Moctezuma will end through Hernan Cortes' help and the conquistadors. So the Spaniards surrounded the area systematically and destroyed the great city. And then they rebuilt over the ruins the city that became known today, present day, Mexico City in Mexico. Well, or Mexico. Now let's take a look at this picture. So this painting of Moctezuma II reflects how Europeans viewed him. Moctezuma expanded the Aztec Empire and made Tenochtitlan its capital city. Okay, now let's go to the second part of this lesson. Let's talk about the legacy of the Aztecs. So what Moctezuma and great Aztec leaders built were not completely destroyed. Some buildings, art, and literature somehow survived. So these ruins were used by archaeologists and historians to study them to learn more about this magnificent culture. The Aztec built huge monuments, especially temples, as we learned in lesson 2 of this section, for their gods. And the temples were positioned to line up with the sun and the stars because they are, great astronomers. The priests are great astronomers. Their priests slash astronomers are good observers of the heavenly bodies, the stars, the moon, and planets. Well, like the Maya, the Aztec believed that these movements directly affected their lives. So they used some complex calendars to chart the record of events, such as important religious rituals and the planting and harvesting of crops. And even to our modern time, this system is used by farmers and fishermen in order to time, the perfect time to plant their crops, and for fishermen, the perfect time to go out and fish, and they know what to expect because of this tradition that is passed from generation to generation based from the observations of the Aztecs, their ancestors. The Aztec writing also gives archaeologists and historians a picture of their society and understanding. The Aztec recorded historical events and they wrote inspiring speeches, poetry, legends, and prayers to their gods, just like the Egyptians. They have glyphs. I think we covered this in our first lessons. They have glyphs, represented words that were painted into codices, and which was also covered in our first lesson. These are like their means of expressing words through pictures, and this is how they communicate what they learned from one generation to the next. So this is an example of this writing system that I'm talking about. On the left side, you'll see this very basic form of writing. So they are images that represent words. And on the right side, you'll see that it is colored so that there will be like a clearer understanding of this picture. On the left side, you'll see that it is a combination of different shapes, and they are meant to, form a sentence so that it will be understandable for the readers of these glyphs. Today, a lot of scholars are learning how this glyphs works. Actually, you can find on YouTube some quick crash course about the basics of this writing system. Well, regarding the codices, a few original codices survive. Many were copied and translated by Spanish scholars. Most of them are monks, priests that went with the expedition. So these colorful books offered a detailed and artistic picture of the Aztec society, like the one that you are seeing on the left side. So these are the important contributions or legacy of this Aztec civilization, their culture. Now let's go to the review and assess questions. As for the first one, number one, reading check. What factors cause instability and unrest in the Aztec Empire? And number two, draw conclusions. How were the Spanish conquistadors able to defeat the powerful Aztec? And number three, make inferences. Why are Aztec codices important to archaeologists and historians? What do you think are the uses of these codices that were discovered? Now go to our Google Classroom and open the review and assess assignment. And of course, it is the last lesson. This would be the last slide. And don't forget to fill in with your last name, first name, class period, and date. And our key vocab is conquistador. And I believe this is not the first time that you will encounter this word. And don't forget to write the title of the lesson. And obviously, I keep on repeating this. If you want to get a full credit, you have to, well, number one, have the correct answers. And then number two, using your own words, write your answers in complete sentences. Okay, so that's our lesson for today. This is the last lesson in chapter 6, section 3.3, the Aztec defeat and their legacy.